Welcome back. What would you do if you posted a photo of yourself on social media only for someone to then use AI to change your appearance or even remove your clothing? That's a scary reality for millions of X users right now who say the site's AI bot Grok is going too far.
One woman in Brazil says that users asked the bot to take her New Year's Eve picture that was posted and then digitally strip her down to a bikini. That's just one example, as other users have targeted politicians and even children in the same way.
So Queen City News actually put it to the test. On the left side of your screen is a photo that we took of me in our studio, me wearing a suit. We then asked Grok to simply put him in a t-shirt and shorts.
As you can see, within 5 minutes, Grok generated what you see on the right side of your screen, a very believable change of wardrobe. So our example is TV friendly, but many of the public prompts to Grok definitely are not.
All right, we want to bring in our chief legal analyst, Collie Frodes, as many people wonder what legal ramifications here. That we know that North Carolina, there are federal laws and state laws that prevent dealing, explicit images without consent. How does this work when you're using X?
I'm just glad we didn't do the bikini search for Julie. Let's start there, because I was.
They'd have to pay good money for that.
That's right.
A couple things. I mean, it depends on the intent. A lot of these laws that you talk about specifically on the state side is, am I intending to harm you? If you're talking about some type of revenge porn, North Carolina's already made the update, the modification to our law specifically. Before it was, if I had a real image of an individual and I posted it with the intent to harm, then that was a criminal offense. Well, then they went back and said, well, now people are generating things with to intent to harm that aren't real. Maybe your real face with a generated body. And so I think our lawmakers did an excellent job of being in real time, recognizing that the technology has changed and modified in a way where now people don't have to have you really naked. They can have a generic or generated body portion, and that part will allow it now to capture. I think it's the same for something like that. These will be, I think, on the state law, if this happened in North Carolina, that would be where you would go on the federal law as well. But then it makes it problematic if the generation is not occurring here. So then you're saying, well, where did the crime take place? You as a victim in the state of North Carolina, you could still bring the charges locally here, but then it's against who? I mean, this image with this woman here in Brazil, she posted it up there. So you're getting hundreds of people that are doing it. So every post is a crime every time. And so I think that's going to be where it gets extremely complicated. And so outside of criminality, it will be the civil liability towards companies. I think is where the door opens up to trying to stop this more than the criminalization of this.
So what legal action do you foresee against these companies? Because Photoshop has existed for a long time, but now they are making it easier. This update to Grok just made it so much easier for people to do that, and it's public too. So what lawsuits could people potentially bring against these AI companies?
I think a number of things. First of all, you have to say, was it foreseeable? Was it reasonably foreseeable? And was it likely to commit some type of and cause some type of harm or damage? I think the answer to that would hinge on whether this lawsuit will be successful or not. And I think a number of folks, because we're a litigious society, will challenge that. And then I think Elon Musk, because who he is, first of all, someone as a First Amendment protector, pushing out, this space where people can say and do what they want, and he will kind of stoke the fire. I think he will invite lawsuits. Instantly, when folks talked about the criticism of Grok, he came back and appeared to mock it with laughing, crying emojis. Things like that, where you feel like you've been wrong and you feel like you've been shamed publicly, and you have the owner of this platform laughing at you, would encourage people to bring some type of lawsuit. I think it would be like any other claim. It's a tort. Do you have damages? Was there a duty? Did they breach that? And do you have causation? And you have to be able to go through that products liability aspect of it, which would be, was it foreseeable? Was it reasonably foreseeable? Was it likely to cause harm? And not just I am upset, I'm frustrated, but I often say here, you have to put a person to a position now where it's created some physical manifestations. I saw this image, now I'm having nightmares, now I can't go to work, now I'm, peeing in the bed. Those are the types of things where it went from just a mental to now I have a physical manifestation. That's the damages component. And because I can put the damages from your product, now you have to pay me.
Khalif, one of the things where my mind goes is the sad amount of teenagers who have taken their lives. We've seen that here with Brandon Guthrie's law, where these images are manipulated and then they're extorted. Could you see this being another avenue where people can extort that? And then can you also talk about how hard it is to prosecute something, because we know there can be burner accounts on X?
And that's what I said. I think on the criminality side, it would be extremely hard to say, okay, it has to just be the best facts. This person is first in America. I mean, you're saying if you're a person here in the United States and you feel like you've been wrong, but then you find out that the IP address is linked to somewhere in Brazil, actually a prosecutor going or a U.S. attorney going after that person in Brazil is going to be really hard to see happening. But I think on the civil side, this is a more likely. But if it lines up where it's, okay, this North Carolina IP address is your IP address, and you're both in the same state, and you go and they do the process and do the research to find out who is actually doing it, yeah, I think that in that capacity, you'd have an opportunity for folks to bring a charge. But then do they have the resources to do that? Do these agencies, these law enforcement agencies across the state and across the country have the manpower to go after and try to stop every individual that's bringing this out? It's a lot easier to just stop it from its creation, or at least slow it down or put guardrails in place, as opposed to try to criminalize these type of folks. I just think that's going to be a mountain that we don't have the resources to try to stop.
And as we talk about a lot here with you, laws are a little bit behind, right? As we've seen with internet and social media rules. So definitely we're going to be talking about this a lot more. Khalif, thank you so much.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.